Coaches, Rick Stewart of All Access Coaching. I'm really excited to bring you this free video, and make sure you hit the subscribe and like button down below. It gives us valuable data as far as what coaches want. And also, if I can get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll start doing weekly YouTube clinics for free. And if you hit the like and subscribe button, you'll get notified when we upload new content. We're uploading 3 or 4 videos every week.
First thing, just general philosophy. Not going to get deep into philosophy stuff, but when we think about defending an option, we always want to deny the dive. We know that option teams want to get the fullback to football, and he is the quickest, biggest threat to hit us for explosion plays, because if he hits it on a downhill run quick, those things are going to go for big plays. And we want to make sure that that player is not the guy who does the damage to us. When it comes to where we're going to fit, we don't talk a lot about, oh, you have the dive, you have the quarterback, you have the pitch. We talk a lot about reading the blocking scheme and fitting accordingly. We found that assigning guys specific tasks, hey, you just played the pitch on option, has created some problems. And we'll talk about that as we get into some of the PowerPoint. We want to get the ball pitched. So when we're talking triple option, we want it to go through all 3 phases. When we talk about dual option, we want to get to its second phase. We want the ball to go lateral. We know that teams have good fullbacks that run the Flexbone. We know that teams have good quarterbacks that run the Flexbone. Those are probably their top 2 threats. There's no doubt that their slots can be big threats speed-wise on the perimeter, but we feel like we have the best chance if they're at least going sideways and we're getting the ball all the way to the sideline every time that they run the ball. And we want to always be able to change up the perimeter responsibilities. Flexbone guys a lot of times don't even use call sheets. These guys know all the ins and outs of the structure, so they have all the answers built in and how they practice and what they do. And so they're going to be ready. If we give them the same look over and over and over again, they're just going to adjust and do the thing that they do against that look that's going to be successful. We can't let them do that. We want to try and stay ahead of the curve. That's difficult to do because they're masters of what they do. They run the Flexbone and they master in it. So we only have to defend it typically 1 time a year, maybe twice a year. So they have a lot more experience with it than we do. We've got to be able to give them some alternate looks. We also just philosophically believe in teaching option responsibilities in every call that we install, whether it's for a Flexbone team or not. We also try to tie that in with how we defend some of the RPOs, particularly the 3-phase RPOs. We don't necessarily talk about dive, quarterback, pitch when we talk about RPO, but we certainly do talk about phases. This is the first phase, it's the second phase, it's the third phase, if it is a 3-phase type of RPO. Some RPOs don't work that way, but we try to tie it in so that players have an understanding conceptually about the idea of phases and how this works, that they're reading you, and that if you play other responsibilities within the play, they're going to attack the responsibility that you left. When it comes to practicing Flexbone, we're like every other team in America. We practice it in the spring. We practice it during fall camp. We also do reviews on Friday. So those Friday walkthroughs that can get kind of stale, where guys are not moving around as much, we'll mix in a 10-minute oil it up period, which is just, hey, we're going to work on a couple elements of what we do against Flexbone, just to make sure guys are always reviewing and remembering that, so that when we do get to the week in season, we also throw it in there in our bye week. So if we are off on a particular week, we're going to work some Flexbone during that bye week for sure, to make sure, again, that it's always oiled up, that guys are remembering what it is that we're going to do. And then we're going to always try to make our Flexbone plan mesh with our base defensive identity. And that changes team to team, year to year. Who are we? What do we do best? What kind of things do we do the most often? We want to make sure that they understand that how it ties into our base identity. And then there's going to be playbook elements. We're going to install it just like we install everything else. We don't want our guys to ever feel like the first time we're hearing these words, the first time we're seeing these diagrams, the first time we're talking about this structure is when we get to the week that we play a Flexbone team, because it will be very difficult for us to ever have the understanding built in. And obviously it's way more beneficial when you get to build on it year after year and you have older players. New players always are the ones that struggle the most with this stuff. This is us in rotate. So the first thing right out of the gate, you'll see us lined up. We have a corner down. They have a reduction of split up there. Safety is a little deep here. They're cheated down a little bit because of where we're at on the field, but you can see our 2 high safety structure, our odd front, our outside backers are up on the ball. It looks like up here, we got a corner near the line of scrimmage. Likely this is because this is a cruise call. And down here, obviously, can potentially be playing something different. You notice our demeanor, very linebacker-like at safety. This is very much the robber safety type demeanor in terms of vision and break and stuff like that. So as we get going with what's going to happen here, action is going there. You can see we're starting to move, right? Motion's happening, but action hasn't happened, excuse me. So the motion's happened. He's going to maybe take a shuffle, but as we start to go, you can see we're shuffling across. The backside safety here is really controlled. He's not sprinting to the front side of the play. And that's important for us. We want to make sure that we don't get ourselves caught in that situation. That's a good patience and control mechanism there from him. What on earth our outside backer was doing? He's an undersized guy. He thought he was getting out physical a little bit. So he dropped down because it was a short yardage type of play. He dropped down into a 3-point stance. We don't normally do that. You'll see him stand up the rest of the game looking more like 23. 4-eye, 0-4-eye. There's our two backers. Action is going to happen to our left. There's our plug player. There's our counter cutback reverse player. Front side, here's our scrape linebacker. And then outside, we're going to have our support. What you're going to see, this is all blocking down. So he goes down in there to try and make the play. Our scrape player is going to play right over the top of it. And notice how tight and square he stays. We want to stay as tight to what's happening right there as humanly possible. This was a cruise call, so that was the alley player blowing that thing up, and outside was our pitch player. In this particular context, the corner should have triggered harder. We should have let the safety overlap that. You'll see where that gets us into trouble a little bit later in this game. And obviously, like all things, we coach this stuff up. You're going to see some good clips of it. You're going to see some mistakes, just like all things. And so obviously we're able to get over the top, and that ends up being our 4-eye getting back involved and our linebacker scraping to it. Reduction of split, two different kinds of reduction of split. This one's tighter. That one's a little bit wider. They're both nasty, right? Those are, this kid was obviously a little bit bigger body kid. This kid was a really physical blocker for them. So they presented unique challenges. He wasn't necessarily a huge dude, but he was a great get after it blocker. So obviously we had to be aware that they might use him in that tight end type of role from that flex position. And this is a good learning opportunity. Hopefully the video is coming through pretty clear to you guys. We get action pass. Okay, they fake the toss, and now we've got the corner away from action who's got to play man-to-man coverage. Okay, so he mans it up and he takes the outcut. It's a really nice job. That would have not been a completable pass. Now, this backside plug linebacker, look at his vision. It expands front side. And guess what? He sees a crosser, opens his hips back up. Now, that's a completable ball, but I think we at least had a chance to make the tackle. And this is one of those be rational and reasonable things. I wish that 34 could cover that guy spot on, but we have to be realistic. That's a good wide receiver with good ability. He's crossing our face off of action. Us being close enough to just make this tackle and limit the yards after catch is all we're looking for here. We just need to make sure that we don't leave that guy alone. They dump him the ball and he runs for a gain of $1 million. And you can see these other cats got caught way up at the line of scrimmage, but they're definitely trying to attack our rotation. And that makes sense, right? They know what we're doing. They're not dumb. Here, basically pre-rotated. And this is something that I put on film. And you say, you look an awful lot like a one-high defense there, Coach. I thought you said this was a two-high structure. It is a two-high structure. What we did in this particular game plan was they ran a bunch of loaded stuff when they put this guy already moved back here, and they were going to run this direction. So what we said to our guys was, we're pre-rotated, you're in a ship call, and you're down. So now our rotation guy's still on the backside. He's going to potentially rotate over and play. It's going to look a lot like one high, but we are totally different because if they were to then, motion back or something like that, we're going to rotate this the same way we did before. The thing is, we know that the vertical threat from this guy already in the backfield isn't as big. So we think we can get from that alignment back on the rotation. And so we feel pretty good about that. And this just gives us one piece of flexibility that we can pre-call something like sky and walk down in it. So he said said ship. And then he told this kid, I'm here. And I'm here means I'm present. I am physically down. I'm not rotating, which is another added piece that you can add in that helps with unbalanced. It helps with some of the formational structures where you want to look one high-ish, but not necessarily play one high principle stuff. The reason I put this play on here also, more so than just even the showing off that we called a ship and hard called it type deal, is now you're going to see when they come out to us off the rev motion and they're bringing that arcing block out to the force player, he does a good job of trying to stay wide, use his hands. He doesn't necessarily kill the block, right? But he does do a good job of stringing it out. The thing to understand about this, it is a long yardage situation here, but the biggest thing was our number one philosophy here. We gave up more yards than we wanted on this, but we know that the number one priority is to get the ball pitched. So we feel like once this play happened, is it perfect? Did we set a hard edge? Did we get the thing kept inside? No, we didn't. Not every play is going to be perfect in our teach tapes. What we do want to make sure we emphasize is we got the ball where we wanted it to be. Now we have to play that technique a little bit better to turn that into a smaller gain in terms of yardage. So you can see here on the edge, 23, he's playing the shuffle technique. Guy went motion away. I'm counter cutback reverse. I'm just hanging, right? And now it comes at me. I'm hanging for the QB. I got a straight player coming, right? Here we go. Now I'm turning and running. He could have definitely identified what was happening faster. We would have loved to see him just attack the Q and let the straight player overlap him or widen and go, one of the two. But he hangs in kind of no man's land, and our force player doesn't set a hard edge. And that's how you get a gain of 6 or 7 or 8 or whatever this was right here. And we run it out of bounds. But we ultimately put ourselves in at least a position to make a play. Now, this is a good example of a miscue, but there's good learning opportunity here as well, because obviously we're trying to learn, a little bit about what the stress areas are of this type of concept as well.
Coaches, I really hope you got some great information from that YouTube video. Again, hit the subscribe and like button down below. It gives us valuable data. And if I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll do free YouTube clinics. And you also get notified when I'm doing those YouTube clinics and when I upload new content to this channel. Thanks for watching, coaches.